Alright, this is a little review slash memory test from the events surrounding the 2016 election. Does anybody remember, allegedly, what Hillary Clinton said exiting the stage after the last debate with Donald Trump? If that man gets elected, we're all going to hang. Given the recent events, that should put that statement in some context. Then, sometime later, Obama, in an impromptu press conference, says words to the effect, "Don't worry about Mr. Trump. We have our eyes on him." Then it comes out a short time later, Donald Trump says point blank that they're wiretapping my phones. And the other side laughed and made fun of him and said that's completely ridiculous. And turns out that's exactly what they were doing. What would be the motivations behind those actions and the things that have followed ever since? Just for something to do? I don't freaking think so. They knew exactly what they were doing, and it should be fairly obvious by now as to why they were doing it. Things went on during the Obama administration that were outside of the Constitution, and they needed to cook up some kind of plan that covered their asses, or at the very least made it possible for them to get away with it. What were those things? Well, there's a whole big list of them, but the main ones are Fast and Furious, where guns ended up in Mexican cartel hands, Benghazi, where guns ended up in ISIS hands, Uranium One, where they sold out a percentage of our rights to uranium to the Russians, and several other things to boot. That's why they freaked out when Hillary's email stuff came up, because that connects everything together. That's why so many emails were destroyed, because those were the links between this scandal, that scandal, this incident, and so forth and so on. And the fix was in all the way down the line from the top, meaning the White House, so that these things could be carried out. Here's something I said many, many videos ago. You can't beat the bureaucracy. There's always some piece of paper, some email, some recording, some text message that's going to trip you up, that's going to expose the thread that makes this deep state sweater come undone. And the point I have tried to make several times, unsuccessfully I might add, if Donald Trump was one of them, if this was the same old game, you wouldn't be tugging on that thread. Because exposure before they can actually bring it all together and clamp the vice down on America is not part of the plan. It has to be a sneak attack. Because if people who understand what the Constitution is all about are aware of it before it actually happens, it won't work. Now, on to the media. The propaganda arm of all of this to try and change the narrative to what they would like to represent. During the Obama administration, there were annual meetings with big tech and the media to try and hammer out all of this and how it was going to go. The system was already built. The programs were already in place. The people recruited that they wanted to carry it out. As a matter of fact, on the other side of it, the algorithms that they wanted to place on the digital world to make it seem like everything was moving towards their conclusion. And we've seen facets of it ever since Trump got elected. They didn't intend to use it the way they're using it now, but when Hillary lost the election, the whole system went rogue. And there's lots of people behind the scenes that understand what's at stake, and out of fear and arrogance, they have went and instituted some of these policies on their own, even further exposing what they wanted or were trying to do. All right, so that being established, that everything was in place, that they were ready to make their move, they needed just the right person in office in order to be able to accomplish and finish off all of the things that had been started years ago, as a matter of fact. And Obama gave a speech during Hillary Clinton's campaign. I think it was the last one, when he was out campaigning for her, because they knew she was falling behind in the polls. That's why they fixed the poll numbers in her favor, to try and convince the American public that she was a shoo-in when they knew that she wasn't. But he said that he wasn't the one to do the job. Pointed up in the balcony at Bill Clinton and said, "Bill, you couldn't do the job." And that Hillary was the only one who could do the job. That meant write executive orders or sway the political process to institute their system. And you see parts of it all over the world at the moment. And as a matter of fact, there have been people rebelling against it pretty hard lately. But the end result is a system not unlike they have in China, where once the elites who run the show are installed in power, they never leave. Even when they die, their own offspring, friends, and family all take positions of power, and it goes on for generations and generations, if they can keep it going. But as I stated before, something about socialism, it's a naturally corrupt system. Once you consolidate the power into compartments, it only eats itself. And in the long run, it eats the people. And that's why people in this country especially should be totally offended and motivated to do something whenever it comes up. Whether it be talking to your neighbors, educating your children, or raising your voice on social media. Because it's the biggest threat to our democracy and our way of life. And anybody who's spent any time in high school history class, well, high school was still high school, knows what the consequences of a system like that are. And to overlook something like that is completely ridiculous. So here's what's at stake. Most people who understand all of this have children and grandchildren. One day, you might have to sit in a dark corner of some room, whispering to them what it used to be like to be free. That's the consequences of not pointing out corruption, of saying things like things will never change, or one side of the coin is no different than the other. What is happening, or what they were trying to do, I hate to say it, it's our own damn fault. Because we were willing to look the other way and make excuses not to get involved, not to be informed, and take action when all of these things become apparent. And that's why things have unfolded the way that they have. Like peeling an onion. First you get this layer, and that the next layer, and the next. And what's at the core of it? We still have a ways to go to get to that. But when it's finally all exposed and peeled open, this will never happen again. Sound familiar? There's evidence of a plan unfolding here. And if you haven't seen it by now, you haven't been looking.